that it does. That makes me a little uneasy that I'm not actually live, but I'm pretty sure that I am. Okay, I think it's done with that blinky thing. Welcome. I am once again Sarah R. Turnquist, author and speaker, and I am a multi-published clean historical fiction, clean historical romance author. And I am coming to you from Middle Tennessee, and it is actually chilly here today. It has been warmer, and then now it chilled down a little bit, but that's okay. My allergies have flared up, so I haven't been outside as much. But I am sharing with you today the fourth book in the Convenient Risk series. It is planned to be at least a 6-book series. 3 books have already been published. I'm working on the 4th book right now, which is the book that we're talking about today. And then I haven't started on books 5 and 6, but they are planned out. So while we're talking about this 4th book in the series today, I want to warn you that there may be details given today that will be spoilers for books 1 through 3. So just that you're aware of that. If that is a concern for anyone, you may want to hold off on watching this live until later. And I'm going to throw a comment at my tech support right now. My screen's kind of flashing, and then when it flashes, I go like this on the screen, like it's jiving on me. But on your screen, if it's not doing anything like that, I'm okay with it. It's kind of blinking on me, and when I blink, it shows me like kind of my head turned another way. It's really weird. But if it's not doing it to y'all, I'm okay. But tech support is on it. So feel free to ask questions in the comments, and stick around for information on the giveaway at the end. So this is actually going to be a cover reveal for this book as well. Only my troupe, my street team, we've talked about my street team before, they are the only ones that have seen the cover, other than the few folks that were part of the design process. So you will be the first folks to see the cover, which is really exciting. I don't have it in hey Connie, I don't have it in a paperback, of course, because it's not a completed novel. I only have it digitally, and I do have a photo print of it, so that's how you guys will be seeing it. So are you ready? Here it is. There is the cover of this next novel, and I'm trying to get the light off of it so that you can see it really well. I'm not having much success with that. There it is. The cover for book 4, A Convenient Escape, and it has our hero and the heroine on it, and of course the tagline and my name. And we did a cover evolution on I sent out a cover evolution email for my street team, and hopefully I'll be able to put that out in my next newsletter as well. So if you would like to see the cover evolution, that just I send out the different stages of what the cover started out as, like kind of the mock-ups, and then the different stages that the cover went through, and to get to what it is now. Kind of what my cover designer, some of her thoughts, some of my thoughts, some of the different models that we went through, those kind of things. So if you would like to see that, hop on over to http sarah.turnquist.com and sign up for my newsletter. I'm going to send out a newsletter in a few days, so if you want to catch that newsletter that has the, hey Mackenzie, if you want to catch that newsletter with the cover evolution in it, you're going to want to sign up, I would say, in the next couple of days. But cover evolutions are super fun because you kind of get to see what the process looks like. But at any rate, the hero is Daniel Hayworth. Again, I'm so bad with this mirror camera thing. And the heroine is Lily McGowan. And the tagline says, I probably can't get it close enough with this shimmer here. When mercy and judgment collide, can love offer new hope? So if you've been on my Facebook live events before, you know that at this point we usually do the bookstore maneuver, which is flip the book over and read the back cover copy. I don't even have back cover copy for this novel yet, because that's one of the last things that I usually write for the novel. The tagline is also usually one of the last things that I write, but I had the appointment with the cover designer, which is Cora Graphics. You'll know that I love her. And so I needed the tagline for the cover. This novel is actually behind schedule right now. We had a huge move. We moved in early January, and then other things have just happened and put this novel behind schedule. So I'm ahead of schedule with my audiobooks, yay, but I'm behind schedule with this novel. So I don't have back cover copy to read to you. And so we're going to go ahead with the backstory behind the novel. If you saw my previous Facebook Lives, you know some of this backstory. But for those of you that didn't, I'll go through it really fast because this is connected to the Convenient Risk series. So you may recall, for some of you, my traipsing respectfully through the cemetery while on a trip to a writer's conference with a friend who shall remain nameless, whose initials are Hannah Conway, coming upon a strange situation with a group of stones that sparked the story behind A Convenient Risk, the first book in the series. Then An Inconvenient Christmas followed, picking up a thread in the first book and continued this thread that I wanted to explore more. And then A Less Convenient Path, I featured one of the ranch hands, and he dealt with the ramifications of some of the things in the first two books. And I paired it with a desert Native American tribe, Tohono O'odham. Never heard of that tribe before. Their movement to a reservation, and the heroine came from that tribe. So then I sat ready to write book 4. I wanted to write another one of the ranch hand stories. And I coupled that with a character that appeared in book 3 who showed up briefly. And she had really kind of grabbed my interest more than I thought she would. So she is featured as the heroine in book 4, and she needed a backstory. Of course, Dan did too. So I wanted to tie together some of why she behaved the way she did in book 3, and what causes the struggles that she faces in book 4. So I had to throw in a little writer magic, and done. There it was. Now for the historical context, because some of you know that I take the love story and then I take a historical event and then I weave the two together to create the historical novel. So then it was time for some research. So we have our place and our time. We're in the late 1800s in southeastern Arizona for this series. So back to the research. What else is going on in this time and place? This is actually a very rich time and place in history. And so I stumbled upon Geronimo. I don't know, I'm sure you've heard the word Geronimo, but I don't know if you are aware that this word Geronimo is actually the name of an Apache medicine man who ended up becoming the leader of this band of Apache that raided all these different villages and camps throughout southern Arizona and northern Mexico. I hate to put it like this. Hope you're covering any little ears, but they killed just hundreds and hundreds of people. And not the Native American kind of people. They definitely opposed the spread of the white citizens and were very angry, of course, with the Mexican population as well. So they were just out to get everybody that were not Apache. So there's actually a film. I noted it here because I thought it was such a good film. It's called Geronimo, an American Legend. It was released in 1993, and it's starring Jason Patric, Robert Duvall, Gene Hackman, and Matt Damon. I mean, some big names in this film. It's a very entertaining film, but even so, it's well researched and it's pretty well done, especially for a film that's as these films go. That's how I'm going to say that. As these films go, I thought it was really well done as far as accuracy and well researched and all that kind of thing. Okay, now we're going to get to the excerpt reading after I get some coffee. And we happen to be in Dallas, Texas today. I haven't shared my love of these Starbucks mugs yet. Oh, there's my lipstick. Dallas, Texas. I love Starbucks mugs. I love coffee. I love coffee mugs. I love everything about coffee. And so, much to my husband's dismay, I collect Starbucks mugs. And yeah, I have so many from so many generations of these Starbucks City mugs. So I'm always like, where am I today? Oh, I'm in Dallas. Okay, so here we go. Excerpt time. Okay, here we go. Lily slowed her steps. It was time. She'd spent enough of the morning wandering, delaying. It only made this more difficult. This point at which she would cross from her world into that one. Okay, now I'm going to stop here just a second and remind you, this is not published. This is not edited. So please give me some grace. It says raw, rough draft. Okay, we got each other? You with me? Okay. I'm going to start again so we can get into the flow. Lily slowed her steps. It was time. She'd spent enough of the morning wandering, delaying. It only made this more difficult. This point at which she would cross from her world into that one. And now she stood, just outside the saloon's swinging doors, waiting. For what? Did she wish for someone to stop her? Or for something to drive her onward? She didn't know. As the time passed, she became more certain this was all that remained for her. She rubbed her arm. The bruises from yesterday's encounter with Ma were still fresh. They still hurt. But the pain on the surface only alluded to the depth of the wounds within. Nothing could touch those, and nothing could heal them. Was that why no one wanted her? She'd been damaged, within and without. Did that mark her as unlovable? And more, unable to love? Yes, this decision, this future was all that was left to her. She glanced to the right and left. Did anyone watch her? Shaking her head, she shook off the consideration. It wasn't as if it mattered. After today, she would be leprous to the good people of this town. Never again acceptable. Not that she ever was. Commanding all the courage she had, she raised her arms and pressed into the saloon. Inside, all was quiet. Did no one stir within this place in the daytime hours? She glanced about the space that she had never before laid eyes on. Tables and chairs were spread throughout the room, not altogether unlike the cafe. Some of the chairs had been scattered from their places, a few upended. Broken glass littered the floor. The raised bar had a myriad of small glasses strewn about, and there was an odd smell. Had no one bothered to clean? Perhaps it was a task completed in preparation for the day, not done after the evening. For certain, she would learn well enough. Hello? She ventured into the silence. She stepped further in. Something cracked underfoot. Jerking to the side, she looked down. More of the amber-colored glass. Just like home, she mused. What a thought. The saloon would be in some ways no different from home. But there were things that would be quite different: her job and the amount of bruises she would bear each day. "What can I do for you, my lady?" A smooth voice laced through the scantily lit room. Lily jerked her head up from her study of the broken glass to look at the man who had appeared in the doorway beyond the bar. The man, of moderate height and good build, leaned on the doorframe, clad in trousers and an undershirt. Had she disrupted his sleep? It was nearly mid-morning. She averted her eyes, but his smile had been warm and welcoming, charming almost. I don't know, her face heated. What had brought her here again? Oh, yes, a job. Could she do this? Footfalls on the wooden floorboards warned that he drew nearer. "Well, you found yourself in the right place." The man's voice was rich and thick, like honey. It poured forth, soothing her worn nerves. She peered up at him, tentatively. He now stood directly in front of her. Could she meet his eyes? She didn't have the nerve. "Are you in trouble, darling?" His voice was soft and gentle. She nodded, but kept her eyes to his chin. Why would she admit such to this man? Something about him put her guard down. Her hand settled on her upper arms, crossing over her chest. She felt strangely safe and uneasy at the same time. He touched her chin, lifting her gaze to his. His eyes were almost gray, not as warm as his voice, but they seemed sincere. "Let me help you." The touch of his fingers on her skin was tender. Her throat became thick. Was this someone to care for her, to take care of her? She never thought she would find it again, least of all here. His hand moved to the side of her face. She swallowed. Hadn't she longed for someone to want to be tender with her like this? Yet something in her resisted. But it was small. She could overcome that trepidation. In time. There wasn't anything untoward in his manner. "You've been through it, haven't you?" he whispered, his eyes fixated on hers. She nodded, letting her eyes slide closed. Would he embrace her, let her lean on him? Or did he wait for her to come the rest of the way? Could she do so? Take that last step toward her future here and leave her past behind? It might not be so hard. It could be easy if the swinging doors of the saloon slammed open. She jerked her head around. The man ground out a curse. Who would burst in on them? Something about her thoughts seemed hazy. The figure that approached was tall and broad. Dan, what could he want? It was rather early to want a drink. "Lily," Dan pressed out. Her name sounded like a warning more than an address. "Leave her be, ranch hand." The tenderness in the barkeeper's tone had gone, replaced with a more forceful, grating voice. "Can't you see she's been through enough?" The man shouldered his way in front of her, blocking Dan. Dan's eyes narrowed. "And I suppose you're the one who's going to help her with that?" The man opened his mouth, but Dan's ire seemed to leave the barkeep hunting for words. Did Dan intimidate him so? What did Dan want? Was he here to rescue her? What for? Why would he care? The two men now stood face to face, glaring at each other. "Come here, Lily," Dan said, his voice only slightly eased. "I'll make sure this ruffian leaves you alone." "Leave her alone? You got it all wrong. She came to me, and I intend to help the lady any way I can." Dan grunted. "I bet you will, Silas. The same way you help all the ladies in your employ." Silas squared his shoulders. "You talk as if my girls aren't well cared for. They've got everything they need. I look out for them." Dan smirked. "I won't dignify that with a response." Lily watched the muscles in Dan's jaw work. Why did he harbor such terrible feelings toward this man, Silas? Had he been only pleasant to her? He had been only pleasant to her. Dan held out a hand. "Let's go." She hesitated. What good would going with Dan do? Wouldn't she be in the same mess? How would he help her with her mother, her father? "See that Dan ill?" the man sneered. "She doesn't want to go." Dan's features tightened, but Lily saw something pass in his eyes, and she regretted her decision. Maybe she should let Dan help her, if only for today. There would be other days, other chances to talk with Silas. Stepping to the side, she reached for Dan's hand. His hard-set features broke for a moment, and in that moment she saw his genuine concern and relief. He did care, if only just a little. Silas appeared stricken. "Are you sure, little lady, that you want to go with this oaf?" Dan wasted no time in pulling her to his side. It is best." She couldn't make eye contact with Silas. Dan urged Lily toward the door. I understand. Silas's voice had taken on that buttery quality once again. But if you ever need anything, I'm here. Dan halted and turned. You stay away from her, he ground out. Silas shrugged, yawned, and stepped through the doorway to wherever it led. Soon enough, Dan had led her out of the saloon and into the harsh sunlight where her intentions were bound to be exposed and questioned. So there it is, the excerpt. That was from chapter 4, scene 3. Yes. I wanted to share a little bit about character development while we're on the subject, as if we were. One of the first things that I do when I am sitting down to work on a novel is to think of my characters. I used to be a pure pantser, is what they call it, right by the seat of your pants. So I would sit down and just let the story unfold for me as I wrote. I'm not really a plotter outliner, someone who comes up with a very detailed outline for how the story is. I'm more of like somewhere in between the two, a plantser, if you will. So I do some planning, but I don't do a lot of in-depth planning. I do more character planning and development, and then I pants the story, if you will. So one of the first things that I do as I'm coming up with the story is I get this image, this idea of what the characters actually look like. And then I will go to Pinterest or Google Images and type in like actor with the color eyes and the color hair, or model with the color eyes and color hair, and then find someone that I really think fits that description, or really fits the description that's in my head. And so for this particular set of characters, I found an actress that I was familiar with that suited Lily in my mind, and that's Isla Fisher. The first place I had seen her was the Scooby-Doo movie when they made the live action films, the first one that came out when they were on that island. Isla Fisher, she played the love interest of Shaggy in that movie. She also played in that movie. She also starred in that movie, The Girl in the Green Scarf. I'm sure was the title of that movie. But Isla Fisher. And then the gentleman that I found that fit the description of Dan in my head, and I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly because I've never heard it said, Thomas Boudwin, maybe. I had never seen him in anything or was not familiar with who that was. I have sought out a couple of movies with him in it. He's been in a couple of Hallmark movies that I've seen. I think he's been in other stuff too. But I have put images of the two next to my desk so that as I'm writing, I can reference their pictures for just different expressions and things like that as I'm going along. So then after I have the pictures of the characters in my head firmly planted, then I fill out some character profiles. And character profiles look kind of like this, whereas they have a lot of questions, everything from socioeconomic level as a child, as a grown-up, to educational background, mental illness. The character, not me, okay? Yeah, give me a break. I'm just teasing. Speech patterns, disabilities, all the different little things that you wouldn't necessarily think about, but that are important to know about the character. Then I also fill out, I do what's called drilling down for the character. It looks kind of like this. The light is not doing me any favors. To find maybe like a vow and a lie that the character has internally that gives rise to things like character flaws and motivation and goals and things like that. I really do utilize Susan May Warren's SEQ story equation. You can see a little bit of that behind me on my board. That is a story equation. Putting in the dark moment in the center, and then finding all the little pieces of your character in the circles around it, like competing values, fear, the wound of the character, all of those different little things come from the dark moment story. So if you, I don't want to go into detail about that because it doesn't belong to me. That method doesn't belong to me. But I would encourage you, if you are interested in writing or are interested in character development, learning more about it, I would highly recommend that you look into Susan May Warren's story equation. You can find that book either on Susan May Warren's website or on Amazon. Yes, it's an amazing book. And she teaches classes about it online on novelacademy.com. Pretty sure that's the website too. If you just Google Novel Academy and Susan May Warren, you will find it. So that's how I go about planning for my characters, and then I start the writing process. Or that's part of my writing process, and then I start writing. So now we've come to the giveaway. For those of you that have not been with me before, this is how the giveaway works. I will pose a question and invite you to answer in the comments. You may continue to answer in the comments from now until. However, as far as the giveaway goes, we will only take comments through 2/28 tomorrow, which is Tuesday, April the 28th, 2020. So again, at 2/28, April 28th, 2020, we will stop taking comments to be entered into the giveaway for a copy of both A Convenient Risk and An Inconvenient Christmas and a $10 Amazon gift card. The books will come as paperbacks. And because of the way things are right now in our world, we feel like it's just safer that they come from the Amazon warehouse. So unfortunately, I can't sign them. I don't want to be shipping from my house during this time. We just feel like that's more appropriate that they're coming from the Amazon warehouse. Just all around better deal. So here's the question. Do you prefer series or standalone novels? Do you prefer series or standalone novels? I have both series and standalones in my repertoire, if you will. That's usually more of a music term, but in the collection, in the collection of novels that I've published, I have both kinds of series. Convenient Risk is more of a series that the books are connected by, but they're not hinged by cliffhangers. None of the books end with a cliffhanger. But the Bornikova series, definitely the books end with a cliffhanger, and the stories, like the book 2 is a continuation of book 1. But the main storyline is tied up in book 1, and there are threads that continue into book 2, if that makes sense. So it's more of what you would consider a traditional sequel kind of setup. And then I think the Convenient Risk series is more of a modern kind of sequel idea. Or series idea. It's not really a sequel, it's a series idea. So I prefer to read series, but more like the Convenient Risk series, where it's not a cliffhanger and I have to wait. But I like that the books are connected and I see the same characters. And I feel like I get to know the place and know the group and that kind of thing. So there's my answer. And we will talk again on Thursday. It will be our last Facebook event, our last Facebook Live event. And we'll be visiting the book that will be coming out this August. The book is going to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the passage of a very important amendment. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give an extra special giveaway for anyone who can name in the comments what that amendment is. Anytime between now and Thursday, before Thursday's Facebook Live starts, the first person who can name which amendment was passed in August 100 years ago